What's up, everybody? This is Chris Tarot bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to talk about Trump and his announcement of 25% tariffs on all automotive vehicles coming into the U.S., as well as automotive parts. And every story pretty much after that coincides with that theme. We're going to, of course, talk about Carney over in Canada, stating he's going to put like $2 billion toward the automotive industry. And we're also going to talk about Hyundai as they make moves to bring vehicles and plants over to the U.S., which is an effect of the tariffs. So let's jump right in. What we're going to start with is the Trump speech where he decides that he is going to implement 25% tariffs on all vehicles coming into the U.S. Let's check it out.
In America, we're going to take back just some of the money that has been taken from us by people sitting behind this desk or another desk that's not quite as nice, but they have their choice of 7, as you know. And we're going to charge countries for doing business in our country and taking our jobs, taking our wealth, taking a lot of things that they've been taking over the years. They've taken so much out of our country, friend and foe, and frankly, friend has been oftentimes much worse than foe. And this is very modest. And what we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been seeing, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new, sort of a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them, and we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars. Individual plants will cost 10, 15, even $20 billion. We're going to let them build electricity generating plants along with their plant, and they can't even believe it. And we're going to get them very quick permits, as I've done always. I did that in Louisiana with 2 LNG plants. I got them one permit in 1 day after waiting 14 years, and the other one in 1 week after waiting for 12 years. But this is very exciting to me. This is the automobile industry, and this will continue to spur growth like you haven't seen. Before I was elected, we were losing all of our plants. They were being built in Mexico and Canada and other places. Now those plants largely have stopped, and they're moving them to our country. In Indiana, the great state of Indiana, I love Indiana. Honda is building one of the biggest plants anywhere, and they've just started. They wouldn't have done it without this. In all cases, they wouldn't have done it without what we're doing. So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff. But if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant. But their plants are underutilized, so they'll be able to expand them inexpensively and quickly. But others will come into our country and build, and they're already looking for sites. They're looking for mostly sites. They don't want to take the old buildings that are empty and falling down. They want to build new, and there's tremendous action.
I mean, what can we say, guys? This is what I've been saying for months on months when it comes to Trump and the automotive industry and what he's been doing to save it. And the tariffs, we knew, they're still, even to this point, they're still a supreme negotiation tactic. Even in his conversation here, he stated that the tariffs go from 2% up to 25%. So there's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of negotiation on how much these companies are going to have to pay when they bring their parts or their vehicles over to the U.S. And this is designed completely to build back the automotive base in the U.S. And I think it's perfect. I think it's the right thing to do. I think I can't see anybody stating that this is a bad thing for America. This is exactly what America needs. We've spent way too much giving, and we not need to receive. We need reciprocity. We need to be able to make money off of these companies that have been gouging us for years. We need to be able to do the exact same things that these countries that have done to us to them. These countries have had massive tariffs on us for years, and nobody said a thing. Nobody said a thing. Countries like China don't even allow certain U.S. vehicles to come over there. And they have big percentages on their tariffs as well for the U.S. vehicles that come over there. And the government completely backs their automotive industry. And we don't have that here. And we need it. And this is what this is. This is our president completely and utterly backing our automotive industry. Let's continue. I'm going to read what our favorite source of automotive news had to say. Automotive news. Let's check that out real quickly. I want to go at this at a couple of different angles. All right, automotive news. Trump announces 25% tariff on imported vehicles and parts. This is from or by John Irwin, and of course it's from March 26 today. President Donald Trump implemented a 25% tariff on vehicles built outside the U.S. starting April 3rd, according to an executive order issued by the White House on March 26. The tariffs are a major escalation in Trump's trade agenda and could cause massive ripple effects throughout global automotive supply chains, already reeling from other new levies, retaliatory measures, and a lack of long-term clarity on trade policy. Certain auto parts such as engines, transmissions, and powertrains and electrical components will also be subject to a 25% tariff. Tariffs on parts will go into effect no later than May 3rd. Parts that comply with the rules for tariff-free trade under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement will not be subject to the new duty until the Commerce Department establishes a process to apply it only to the components non-U.S. content according to the executive order. The tariffs will only apply to the value of non-U.S. content in vehicles imported from Canada and Mexico that comply with the USMCA's rule. What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff for all cars that are not made in the United States, Trump said during a news conference at the White House. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we're at, and go to 25%. The tariffs are aimed at bolstering domestic manufacturing and incentivizing automakers to move vehicle production to U.S. industry. Executives and analysts have warned that broad-based tariffs could quickly lead to a new vehicle production cuts in North America while raising car prices by thousands of dollars. This will continue to spur growth like you've never seen before, Trump said. The policy will likely push the price of new cars soaring, according to analysis by Anderson Economic Group. The president's remarks today suggest that automobile buyers and automobile workers are in for a shock starting in less than a month, Patrick L. Anderson, the firm's CEO, said in a statement. Tariffs at these levels mean cost increase of $4,000 to $10,000, including most American cars. They've already had those increases in these cars. You've seen the prices on trucks and Jeeps. All these vehicles is over $100,000 already. Nobody caring about no $4,000, $10,000. That's what I'm saying. If you don't like the tariffs or this is affecting the vehicle that you want to buy another car. The fuck? He said the anticipated price increase would have a dramatic negative effect on car sales in the United States and will cause job losses in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Texas, South Carolina, and Alabama, as well as Ontario and Canada. Okay, if we believe that it's going to cause job losses, but matter of fact, we're going to go into another story in a minute, but we know that these tariffs have already brought jobs to America. He spoke about the plant over in Indiana. We're going to speak about a plant over in Georgia here in a second. Spoke about the plant over in Louisiana. We've lost so many jobs over the last couple of years to the UAW strike, to just loss of desire for these vehicles. And it's all based on what we're talking about now. People are not buying these vehicles because A, they're too expensive already. Before this tariff situation, the cars are too expensive. So that's what drove the used car market so much. That's why we made so much money off used cars. That's why we continue to make so much money off used cars because the new cars are just way too expensive. Y'all drove up the prices on these cars way too much. Way too much. And in turn, you couldn't sell the cars, so that's why all the job losses that we've already seen have occurred. And now you're talking about worrying about job losses from these $4,000 to $10,000 increases, which we don't even know is going to happen. You know that, right? This is an assumption. 2.5 to 25%. You don't know how much these tariffs these people are going to pay. And the most important thing is, just like we're going to talk about in the story that we're about to gear up on, most of these companies are already gearing so they can pay these tariffs off before it gets to the consumer. Why? Because they want to stay competitive. If they don't keep their prices competitive, ain't nobody going to buy their junk, no way. Nobody's going to just let you put a $4,000, $10,000 increase on the car that they want to buy and continue to buy it. They're just going to look somewhere else. And that's not what companies want. They want you to buy the car, so they're going to just eat the tariff. Remember we talking about China already gearing up, saving money for these tariff situations because China knew this was coming. China knew this was coming because China knew what they've been doing this whole time. They knew what kind of tariffs they've been putting on U.S. products. They knew how they were gouging U.S. companies that were over in China building cars and stuff like that, gouging them. They hit GM for, $5 billion a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago because GM wasn't selling enough cars in the U.S.? How China going to hit them and make them pay them $5 billion because they ain't selling enough cars in the U.S., but they got a factor because it's all in the contracts. It's all in the way you write your contract. GM dumbs butts wrote a contract with China saying, hey, we're going to do all this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make all this money, and we're going to flow it back into this factory. China said, hey, okay, cool, but if you don't, you're going to owe us $5 billion. What happened? They owed them $5 billion. Let's keep going, my bad. Anderson said manufacturers will attempt to substitute parts and shift production to avoid the levies, but they will also pass tariff costs that can be initially avoided to customers and dealers. No, they won't. They ain't stupid. They want to stay competitive. They want to sell their product. They're going to eat these levies and tariffs and keep it moving. That's what they're preparing for. The tariffs are an almost untenable, head-scratching number for the U.S. consumer, an analyst at Wedbush Securities wrote in a March 26 note for investors. They estimate buyers could face a $10,000 increase. Estimate. Autos Drive America, which represents the U.S. operations of international motor vehicle manufacturers, also voiced concern that high tariffs will raise car prices. At a time when cost is the number one concern for American car buyers, it is, U.S. automakers are working to provide a range of affordable vehicles for consumers, said Jennifer Savivan, the group's CEO. The tariffs imposed today will make it more expensive to produce and sell cars in the United States, ultimately leading to higher prices, fewer options for consumers, and fewer manufacturing jobs in the U.S. UAW praises Trump's move. Ooh. The UAW called the new trade policy a victory for auto workers, one that would end a harmful economic framework. See? We applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working class communities for decades, UAW President Shawn Fain said in a statement. Kissing. Ending the race to the bottom in the auto industry starts with fixing our broken trade deals, and the Trump administration has made history with today's actions. The UAW called on automakers to absorb the cost of tariffs instead of passing them on to consumers, adding that it would support the legislation requiring them to do so, because there's legislation that requires them to do so. Dumbasses. Workers must be held harmless during any disruption that accompanies the reshoring process, with financial support from the federal government if necessary, the UAW said in a news release. Complex auto supply chains ridiculous, Trump says. Trump called the complex automobile supply chain in which parts are shipped back and forth over borders multiple times before ending up in a finished vehicle ridiculous. And it is. I think it's going to lead to cars to be made in one location, he said, adding that the tariffs will be 100% permanent and lead to $100 billion in annual revenue for the federal government. Nearly half of all new vehicles sold in the U.S. in 2024 were imported. Nearly half of all new vehicles sold in the U.S. in 2024 were imported. Man, y'all killing me. The U.S. imported $474 billion worth of automotive products in 2024, including passenger cars worth $220 billion. Mexico, Japan, South Korea, Canada, and Germany were the biggest suppliers, and all but Germany have trade agreements with the U.S. that allow for free flow of automotive goods. Trump has long rallied against what he calls the unfair treatment of U.S. automotive exports in foreign markets, often signaling out the European Union, which collects a 10% duty on vehicle imports, 4 times the U.S. passenger car tariff rate of 2.5%. The U.S., though, collects a 25% tariff on pickup trucks from countries other than Mexico and Canada, a tax that makes the vehicles highly profitable for Detroit automakers. Let's keep going. Tesla CEO Elon Musk, a close Trump ally who heads the Department of Government Efficiency, had no influence on tariff policy, Trump said. He's never asked me for a favor in business whatsoever, Trump said. Shares in automakers, including General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, fell in aftermarket trading following the announcement. Trump dismissed concerns about automaker share prices. They'll take care of it itself. That'll all take care of itself. Trump also reiterated his desire to make interest on auto loans tax deductible, but only for U.S.-made vehicles. The plan was first floated at a campaign rally in November. All right, we're gonna stop there. Homie was a little long-winded, but he got the point. He hit every mark. We know exactly what we're talking about. The UAW is backing it because they understand that this is the right move, and this is the way to move, guys. We have to definitely get reciprocity from these countries that have been digging us, getting 10% tariffs while we've only been collecting 2.5. You know, just getting over us, not purchasing our products. It's just been horrible for the automotive industry for a long time, just like Sean Fain said. Not a big fan of him, but he's talking good stuff right now. So we're going to roll with him. But this is a beautiful thing, guys. This is what we need. This is definitely the move when it comes to the automotive industry. This is what we're going to definitely do to build the automotive industry back to the way it was, back to the strength it was, back to making America one of the most powerful countries in the world. So let's keep going. So we're going to head over to Canada, and we're going to check out Mark Carney. Mark Carney is a liberal leader over in Canada. He's vying for prime minister or whatever the president or whatever it's called over there. And he made a stop, based on the tariffs that Trump spoke about, and he spoke about how he was going to, if he was elected, because I think their election is on April 28th, I think. And if he's elected and his Liberal Party takes lead over in Canada, he's going to go ahead and put almost $2 billion towards the Canadian automotive industry. Why would be my first question, but let's check it out first, see what he's talking about.
Canadian auto workers don't just build vehicles, they build Canada. And our auto sector has always been there for our country. So in this time of uncertainty and need, Canada will be there for our auto workers. That is why today I'm announcing that the new Liberal government will create the Strategic Response Fund. And this is a $2 billion fund that will protect the jobs of workers affected by President Trump's tariffs.
How?
But it'll do much more than that. It will fortify the entire Canadian auto supply chain.
How?
From raw materials to finished vehicles. Because we're not just protecting the present, we're looking to build the future. We're creating new jobs. Under our plan, we will build an all-in Canada network for auto manufacturing components. Because on average, an auto part crosses that border often through that bridge, over that bridge, 6 times before final assembly.
Why? That's a problem. That in itself is a problem. That's what Trump talked about. That in itself is a problem. Why would that happen? Doesn't that just sound stupid? That, you know, it would cross 6 times over a bridge before it's assembled. It sounds like a waste of gas. Sounds like a waste of transportation. It just sounds like a waste. And we are in the business of doing away with waste. We are in the business of doing completely away with waste. We're going to stop. And once again, you can't, he tripping because there's no way that Canada can build an all-inclusive automotive industry in Canada. You know why? Because their market is too small. Let's keep going.
And in a trade war, that's a huge vulnerability, tariff as it goes into the United States each time.
Vulnerability for you.
So what we need to do is build more of those autos and more of each auto right here in Canada. In the new world, that will be an advantage. That will help insulate us from President Trump's trade threats.
How would y'all building more cars insulate you from Trump's tariffs? Building car, you still need a market to sell your cars in. If you start building more and more cars, and this is one of the main reasons that the U.S. automakers are suffering so bad, is because they got into this mode where they decided that they could make as many model cars as they wanted, as many model trucks as they wanted, and they were going to put them out on the streets. And they underestimated how much of the market share of the automotive industry in the U.S. they would have. They just didn't plan for all of the automotive vehicles that come over from China, from Canada, from Mexico. They didn't plan for that. So now a big problem that they're having is inventory. They have way too many cars that they can't get rid of. So now they have to take cars back from dealerships. They have to sell them at cost. They have to do all these things to try to get around that. That is the problem that you, my friend, is going to create for Canada. Let's keep going.
And it'll grow the economy right here in Windsor and across southwestern Ontario. Until today, it's taken too long to get important projects done. Projects that leverage Canada's abundance of natural...
It's taking too long because you're moving cars 6 times over the border to get them done. Ridiculous.
Resources, including critical minerals. We have to move faster to get them approved and underway. That all changes with my government. To make business in this sector easier and more efficient, we will establish a first mile fund. We announced this last Friday with the provinces. And what this fund will do is to provide capital to build transmission and transportation networks that link extraction sites to rails and roads. We'll also establish a one-window approval process. That means eliminating duplicative federal requirements by recognizing provincial assessments for major projects. One project, one review.
Ain't that what pretty much what Trump said that he was doing? So talking about he was going to get permits for those companies and that were looking for permits like 14 years, and he got it in a day, and then got another permit in a week, and they've been waiting a long time for permits. That's what he's saying he's going to do, right? Now, mind you, this is what he's saying he's going to do, because if he doesn't get into office, he ain't going to do shit. Let's keep going.
And we will identify projects of national significance and accelerate the time it takes to build them. One project, one review, speed, size, it's time to build. Now, building will include building out critical minerals in the Ring of Fire in partnership with Indigenous peoples. It will include building out our ports, reinforcing and building the Port of Montreal, and new ports like Grays Bay in Nunavut. We will create complete supply chains for the future of our auto industry and new markets for it to sell into. Finally, I'm committing that a new Liberal government will buy Canadian vehicles to grow our auto industry and create more good union jobs.
Do that. See, that's what Trump said. That's what Trump doing. How you gonna have a problem with Trump's tariffs and what everything that Trump is doing for the automotive industry, and then go around and say exactly the same thing that you're gonna do the exact same thing for Canada? Ridiculous.
We are building Canada strong, and our actions are supporting the work of nearly 500,000 Canadians who work directly or indirectly in this sector. We're supporting their families. We're supporting their communities. We're supporting this great country. That's the thing that President Trump just doesn't get.
Here we go.
He wants to break us so America can own us. And it will never, ever happen, because we don't just look out for ourselves, we look out for each other. That's what unions do.
Well, you haven't been looking out for the U.S., and that's what we're doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Now, mind you, I got love for Canada. See my time up there. I got love for y'all. But this is a different situation. We're talking about my automotive industry, our automotive industry, and I would prefer. I appreciate what he's saying. Carney, that is Carney over in Canada. I think he's the liberal leading candidate for prime minister, I guess, over in Canada, and they have election on April 28th. So I hope he win, because everything he's saying is kind of beneficial for us. If he makes this is Canadian network where Canadians and Canada is building parts just for Canadian people and making sure that the infrastructure is complete and strong in Canada, I'm all for that. Just don't mess with us. I'm all for that. Don't worry. You're honestly only saying that because of what Trump is doing and all the tariff situations. And you understand. You want to ease these people's minds with a statement of $2 billion, because you understand that if Trump has his way, then the automotive industry might start to hurt over in Canada. And we don't want your automotive industry to hurt. So if you believe that making the infrastructure of your automotive industry to be based only and significantly in Canada, then by all means do that, because that's what we're trying to do too. We just want to make sure that America's automotive industry, our infrastructure, is based in America and building for America, just like you want to. It's the same thing. We want the same thing for our countries. That's it. All right, one more story real quick. I'm going to let y'all get up out of it, y'all. So, all of this tariff talk has produced a lot of windfalls. Trump already spoke about it. Plant in Indiana, plant in Louisiana. Automotive industries across the waters are bringing their stuff over here. This is a situation where one of my favorite one of my favorite automakers is Hyundai. I worked for Hyundai for a long time. I understand and appreciate the products. They're coming out with some great vehicles, so I don't hate. I do not hate. I like Hyundais. Kias is cool too, but I like Hyundais. Hyundai decided that it is going to bring its stuff over to the U.S. because it understands that if they start to bring their plants and parts distribution and part manufacturing over to the U.S., less tariffs, less more ability to stay strong in the U.S. market. So let's check out a story about Hyundai and its opening of a mega plant over in Georgia.
Hi, Kelly. You know, they actually started thinking about this plant. They actually made the decision back during the first Trump administration to build this plant. Wow. Construction began in 2022, finished in October.
So first off, thank you. So first off, they already had the idea of building this plant back when Trump was first in office, and they had to kibosh it after Trump left office. For the years that he wasn't in office, and that means that the opportunity for all these jobs was missed for 4 years. Oh man.
They started gently beginning production then, and now they are officially opening this plant outside of Savannah, Georgia. Look at Hyundai's sales over the last 20 years. This has been one of the true success stories in the U.S. in terms of growing auto sales, and most of the time, the vehicles have been imported from South Korea. This plant will be building 2 electric models, the EV5 and the EV9. The EV9 was just introduced starting in October. Here's the story with Hyundai when it comes to auto production and the vehicles they sell in the United States. 58% of them last year, according to global data, were imported from South Korea. About a third came from production already here in the United States, the remainder from Mexico. If you take a look at shares of Hyundai, keep in mind that this Metaplant will have peak employment of about 8,500 employees.
Nice.
So again, this is the official beginning, and what a day to have the beginning of the auto production here. The governor of Georgia walks by. Good to see you, Governor. And as you can imagine, local politicians are very happy to have a new auto plant here in Georgia. Kelly, I'll send it back to you as we wait for the announcement from the White House.
Yes, indeed. Phil, anything you'd add on that? We only just learned within the past hour that this announcement is coming at 4 p.m.
I want to know if it's against foreign automakers or if it's against Mexico and Canada. That will tell you everything right there. If it's Mexico and Canada, then that has huge implications, not only for the big three, but all automakers. Or is this a case where he says, I don't like what the EU is doing, and I want them to pay some type of a greater tariff? Is it against Japan? Is it against South Korea? Is it nothing against Japan and South Korea? I don't put too much stock in the shares of the big three falling on the news of this announcement. I want to see the details here. That will tell us just how big it is.
And analysts are saying the same thing. The one, they said we'll hand market share to the Asian automakers if they're not included. So a lot to learn. Phil, appreciate it, especially on your feet there at the new plant from Hyundai in Georgia. Phil LeBeau.
See, that's what I'm talking about. It's, look at that. Look at all those jobs for Georgia. Definitely a place where there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of people needing opportunity. And it's a beautiful thing. And of course, I've always enjoyed Hyundai. I have to face that fact. It's a great company, putting out a great product. Always had great automotive warranties. I'm a big fan of their warranties on their vehicles. And the product is great. And now that they've built plants over here and they're making correct moves over here, and you saw the growth. You saw the Hyundai growth. It's one of those companies that is really trying its best to do the right thing and is doing the right thing here in the U.S. So if they're going to build a plant over here that's going to employ 8,500 U.S. Americans, I'm all for it. This is what I'm talking about. This is what tariffs are doing for us, is giving us these opportunities. Once again, the plant over in Indiana, the plant in Georgia, plant in Louisiana. Remember all the plants that I spoke about that had to lay so many people off because of the UAW Big Three contract? All the jobs that were lost, all the plants that closed, all the plants that were slated to be reopened, Belvedere, but didn't reopen, but now they're going to reopen them. This is all due to President Trump and his tariff statements and his ideas for the automotive industry in the U.S. We have to build it back. We have to make the automotive industry great again, guys. And he's doing it. So, we'll get up out of here. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a rough week for me. I just wanted to vent for a second. You have to, guys. You have to stay on top of your health. Stay on top of your wealth. Stay on top of everything. I have a family member that's going through it financially, health-wise, and I'm trying my best to be there for him. It's wearing me out, but I'm going to do it because we have to do it. Our duty is to our family. We have a duty to our friends, not to everybody, but those who have been there for us. So make sure you take care of your family and friends. Make sure you love your family and friends. Make sure you check in on your family and friends, because you never know when you're going to have that last conversation with them. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit me in DMs if you have any questions. And I'm Chris Sarad, and I'm out. Peace.